Okay, Abbie Pearson, EPIP Netball. Abbie, what I would like you to do is the strengths and weaknesses of a named performer, including skills, tactics and components of fitness. From their weakness, I would like you to prioritise their major weakness and say why. I'd then like you to come up with a detailed action plan based on their major weakness, including timescale and details of progressive practices with coaching points. I'd then like you to tell me about participation from local to national provision and excellence for your sport. Finally, I would like you to finish by telling me the health benefits of your sport.
Okay. Abbie Pearson, netball. The game that I watched is Manchester Thunder versus Team Northumbria. I watched from 0-0 to 10-0. The player that I ID'd is Thunder, so the yellow goal attack. First things that I noticed were she had a good change of direction and dodge. This was a strength because she kept her head up and eyes on the ball. She ran in one direction, then firmly planted her foot, swung her hips and then sprinted off in the opposite direction, signalling with her hand where she wanted the ball. That was for the change of direction. It was a strength because it allowed her to outwit her opponent because they thought she was going one way and she changed to the other. Her dodge was also a strength because she transferred her weight quickly from one foot to the other. She slightly dropped her shoulder but not too much, allowing to trick her opponent. Another strength I identified was her defence of the pass. This is stage 2 defence in netball. She stood 3 feet away, so 0.9 metres away, which is how far you need to be. If she was any closer, it would have caused her to get pulled up for obstruction, which would have allowed the team to have a free pass. So it was good that she didn't go closer to this at any point in the game. She also was strong at this because her hands covered the ball and the space in front of the player and to the side of the player, and her hands shadowed the ball. So it was a strength because it put pressure on the other team when they needed to get the ball down to their side of the court. Another strength was her landing. During the game she wasn't blamed for footwork, which is a strength because it allows her team to keep possession of the ball. The coaching points of a landing are to land 1-2, so your weight goes onto one foot first, so you jump, land on one, then the second foot goes down, so your weight is equally spread between both feet, allowing you to keep balance and then push off with one foot as you deliver a pass. A tactical strength of the goal attacks was her skill selection. She was able to choose when to deliver a chest pass or when to deliver a shoulder pass, which is a strength because it meant that she could choose when it was appropriate to do what, which allowed her to not make mistakes and to keep the ball from being intercepted. So it was a strength. A component of fitness that was strong was her cardiovascular endurance. During the game, she did not seem to tire. She kept moving and kept offering for the ball and tried to stick with her player. So her cardiovascular endurance was a strength because it didn't weaken her game. As for her weaknesses, so a skill that she was not very strong at was her long range passing, so her shoulder passing was a weakness. When you do a shoulder pass, your elbow should be up high with your arm at a 90-degree angle to your shoulder. The goal attacks was a bit lower than this and it was too close to her body, which meant that the power did not come from the right place. Her hand did not also follow through the ball as it should do, which meant that the ball went too high, and so it meant that the ball was easily intercepted by the other team, which made it a weakness because her team lost possession and the other team gained possession. Another skill that was a weakness of hers is defending the player. In netball, even though you're an attacker, you need to be able to defend your player as well, and the goal attack could not stick on her player. She tried to stick on the player, but she sometimes got too far away, and this is because she did not follow the correct coaching points. What you should do is have your feet shoulder width apart with your weight on the balls of your feet, which means you're ready to go and drive at any point that your player does. She needed to keep her head and eyes up. Instead, she kept them on the ground, which meant that she wasn't able to see the ball and sometimes couldn't read whether the player was about to drive. Her body should have been angled at a 45-degree position towards the player's uncovered side, so she had a good vision of both the ball and the player. So her defending the player, so stage 1 defence, was a weakness. Another weakness that is a skill is her attacking. During the game, she often got stuck behind her player. Her player's defence was strong, so she could not read whether she could go round or back. She often made the decision to drive out instead of change direction. She, instead of creating space, she got into other people's space, especially on the centre passes, which makes it difficult as both options are then cancelled out for the centre to pass to. This links into her tactical weakness, which is her positioning. As a goal attack, you should not go too high up the court, which this yellow goal attack did. She came up too high, she offered on the centre passes, which the majority of should go to the wing attack. Also in the centre, in the shooting circle, she was too high. She should have been near the net, but she lingered around the edge of the circle, which meant when she did get a chance to take a shot, she was too far away. Her component of fitness that was a weakness was her speed. During the match, she found it difficult to get free. This could be because her speed was weak. She did not use her arms and legs properly when running. She did not pump her arms up enough, and her passing was also not quick enough. She often held the ball for nearly 3 seconds, and I think twice in the video she does get pulled for 3 seconds. So her speed of the pass was weak because it meant that their possession of the ball got turned over to the other team. Her strength was also a component of fitness that was weak. As a goal attack, you need to be able to hold your own space, and not once in the game did she do this. It seems that she gets pushed by her goal defence often in the video, and the strength of her passing was also weak. The strength of her passing is a weakness because it meant that the ball went loopy or high, which means it's easily interceptable for the other team. It also means that sometimes the ball does not go far enough, so it doesn't reach the player that she desires and can be picked up by the other team. Another tactical weakness that the goal attack does is decision making. She often makes the wrong decision of who to pass to. For example, you should look down the court to try and get it to the net quicker, whereas she often passed back, or sometimes she had a few options for it to pass to, but she took too long in deciding this, and so the ball was given to the other team. The major weakness, I think, is her attacking. I think as a goal attack, your main role is to get the ball down court and feed the goal shooter, and then if necessary to take the shots. Her attacking was a weakness because she did not use a variety of methods for getting free. She only used a change of direction. She got into other people's space instead of creating her own, and she got stuck behind her player too much. I think that is her major weakness, because even though her other weaknesses affected her game, as her position is goal attack, it is one of her main jobs to attack. An action plan I would do to improve her attacking would last for a month, and over the 4 weeks there would be 2 sessions per week of 30 minutes. In week 1, I would do a test. I would first watch her match play for 15 minutes and record the times she's free and the times she isn't free and compare these. I would also note down the type of tactics she uses to get free, whether she uses a dodge or whether she uses a straight lead. Next I would do another quick test, which is a 2v2 in the circle, where she has to get into a certain space. So these spaces would be the pockets, as these are most beneficial for the goal attack and goal shooters to use. So that would be the edges of the D and the top of the D, and obviously under the net where they need to shoot from. Week 1, session 2, I would go over the principles of attacking, which are to create options for the person with the ball, which are to always be ball side, feed the shooters, which she is one of, so use the other wing attacking centre, and also feed the goal shooter, and primarily to work the ball down the court without it getting intercepted. Then during the week 1 session, 2 session, I would focus on straight leads, which is the first technique used to get free. For a straight lead, you need to be ready on the balls of your feet, with your feet shoulder width apart, ready to move at any time. Your arms need to be pumped at the side to maintain speed. You need to take large strides to cover as much ground as possible. It is also important to keep your head up, your eyes on the ball or on the person with the ball, and your hands should be used to indicate where you would like the ball. To work on straight leads, it is important to have speed. So first we would do some work on speed with strengths, with a like running up and down the court and having pause and then going as fast as you can on the whistle. Then we would just have a feeder and a worker. She would be the worker and she would have to drive straight forward, then at an angle, then the other way at a different angle, so that she is able to run not just always straight but at a 45-degree angle, as these are more often beneficial. Then week 2 session 1, so the third session, we would work on change of pace. So it is important that we've done the straight leads before this, because in a change of pace you only run forward, you don't change direction. In a change of pace you run forward, you just jog, but you make it look like you are going for the ball. You all of a sudden plant your foot and push off using bigger strides and using your arms. You need to again keep your head up and eyes on the ball and indicate where you'd like the pass to go with your hands. We would do this in the same way with having a feeder and her focusing on the coaching points necessary. Week 2, session 2, we would do a change of direction and dodge. Although that she was quite good at this, she needs to learn how to do it in a game situation. So we would start doing it just focusing on that, but then as she was good at it before, we would put it into a game situation. So the coaching points of a change of direction or dodge is to keep your head up, your eyes on the ball, to take big strides and suddenly plant your outside foot, twist your whole body, your hips, shoulders and head, and push off that foot and run in an opposite direction, indicating where you'd like the ball to go. With a dodge, again, it is just a push off your outside foot with your shoulder dropping only slightly and pushing to trick your opponent. Then the next session, week 3, session 1, we would look at attacking on a centre pass. So we would go through the different setups with a wing attack, so either a stack or a stack to the side, or equal, or a hang back from the goal attack. It is important to do this because her positioning was also a weakness, but her attacking on the centre pass was more important as she got in the wing attack's way. So we would work on her following the goal attack, the wing attack's leads, and then making her own lead after, so as to not get into the person's space to create her own space. Week 3, session 2, we would then go on to a 2v2 in the circle, wherein she has again to focus on the different methods of getting free, because as for defenders it is easy to defend the ball when you know what they are going to do. If they do a change of direction every time, you know that you have to defend, you have to wait for her to change direction. So we would work on her doing a change of pace to get into the circle, or a straight lead once in the circle. She would have to also work with another shooter to make sure she can attack not only by herself, but instead of getting in people's way, she has to work with them to create space. Week 4, session 1, we would again do the 2v2 in a circle, progressing it by adding limits, so only being able to do a bounce pass or only being able to do an overhead pass. This makes it harder for her as she has to think about her position, because if she attacks the edge of the D when she's going for an overhead, then the centre and the wing attack will be too close to deliver an overhead pass. Also in that session we would go on to some gameplay and see if she could do the same using all types of methods of getting free. If she was not successful in getting free, there would be some kind of forfeit. So every time she was not in a good space, she would have to do say 10 press-ups. This makes the drill more entertaining and gives her the motivation to do it to her full ability. Then in the final week, we would again do the test. So I would watch her match play and record the amount of time she's free and isn't free, and then the test of the 2v2 where she has to get into the pockets. I would record my findings and see whether or not she had improved. The pathway for netball is the first opportunity to play is in primary school. At primary school, there is an initiative called High Five, where there are five positions, and there is a rota, so all people get to play each position. This allows players to develop a sense of each position. The next opportunity is secondary school. The game develops to 7-a-side there, where players are able to get a more specific position for their ability. Schools often play in leagues against other high schools near them. There are also grassroots clubs locally, so around here there are Stockport and Denton. These offer training and teams for girls of all ages. For example, Stockport starts at the age of 4 and also has ladies teams which play in leagues. The teams for Stockport play in a local league at Reddish Ball Hall. There are also national opportunities for clubs. So some clubs are more elite, they have a higher standard of netball. For example, Tameside and Oldham are better than clubs such as Stockport and Denton. These clubs are able to enter regional leagues. So around here, Tameside, for example, would enter the North West Regions League. If they were successful and qualified in that league, they would then enter a national competition playing teams from across the country. The ages of these leagues are under 14s, under 16s, and for ladies there are Prem Divisions 1, 2 and 3. There is an opportunity also for elite level netball at a young age, so Satellite Academy is the first opportunity of this. This is generally for girls around the age of 14 and under. At the Satellite Academy, you can either be scouted to attend trials or choose to attend trials. You are usually suggested to attend by your club's manager if they think you will be successful. If you are successful, you will join the squad and train regularly with a higher level of coaching than at your club. The next level is County Academy. This is just it's the same as Satellite, but the next level up, so it's for girls a bit older, around the age of 16. Again, high level coaching with girls who may not be from your club. From here there is Regional Academy, so you can only be selected for regional if you were on your county. So for example, a county academy is Manchester. You can be selected for regionals from Manchester. The region you would be selected for would be the North West. Regional Academy is an even higher level of coaching from coaches such as Karen Gregg. Then there is the Regional Performance Academy. There are only 9 spread across the country. You're selected for Performance Academy from your Regional Academy. It is older again, and here they coach you on fitness, skills, but as well as that they talk about strength and conditioning and nutrition. They give you 6 to 10 hours of the netball you need to do per week. Next there is National. So this is representing your country. So it could be training with girls from all over your country. You can be selected for that from regional or from local clubs, but obviously the more higher elite level clubs in the national competitions are more likely to get onto National Academy. This is the England under 17s and under 19s and under 21 squad. It is the best athletes of the age in the country, and you are able on the National Academy to gain access of support for all areas. Next there are INTCs, so Intensive Netball Training Centres, which are high level coaching. They are supposed to be the highest level coaching possible, and they are extra training for elite athletes. Finally there is the Senior England team. with the likes of Sarah Bayman and Helen Housby, and they play in the World Championships and Commonwealth Games. Finally, the health benefits of netball. So there are physiological benefits, psychological and social benefits. First of all, the physiological benefits. Playing netball allows you to maintain a healthy body weight, which lowers the risk of developing obesity and so lowers the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. From playing netball, you can gain an increase in cardiovascular endurance due to cardiac hypertrophy. There is also an increase in stroke volume and cardiac output, which means that your resting heart rate decreases. There's an increase in the size of the left ventricle, which means that there are more high-density lipoproteins and less low-density lipoproteins. The lungs also benefit from playing netball, so you have more efficient breathing pathways and better gaseous exchange. There are more red blood cells and alveoli, which means there is a higher oxygen carrying capacity. There's also more mitochondria, which means there's better energy production, and the stroke volume is higher, so there is also a lower breathing rate. There is also less chance of developing osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, and playing netball can strengthen your tendons and ligaments. As for the psychological benefits, when playing netball there is a stress relief due to endorphins. It can also increase your self-esteem and confidence, and it is good for mental well-being in general. Socially, netball can help you make friends, it can help you develop teamwork skills and communication skills, as well as playing netball can help you with leadership and decision making. It also helps you develop fair play, sportsmanship and morals. There are some negatives, however, because exercise in cold weather can cause exercise-induced asthma to develop. There's also a chance of injury. So obviously for netball you have to train a lot, so you can get injuries from overtraining. Even though netball is a non-contact sport, a lot of contacts do happen, which can cause injury. Most common injuries in netball would be shin splints, or your ankles and knees are particularly at risk due to the impact of landing regularly. Although netball can decrease the risk of developing osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, you could also be at a greater risk, and your tendons and ligaments could also be damaged.